This podcast is produced by Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency. The Collective Us, an NMCAA podcast, focuses on inspiring you through stories of those we've helped through our programming or by linking local resources to community members in need. Join us as we learn about the programs offered through NMCAA and how we touch people's lives every day.
Welcome back to The Collective Us. I'm Ryan Buck.
And I'm Erica Austin. It's that time of year again. School bus engines are roaring, classrooms are getting the final touches on them, and teachers are getting label makers ready. And before we know it, our kids will be back in school.
Hard to believe we're already approaching another school year. This one's an exciting one for both of us, but Erica, your oldest son, will be...
Yes, so he's starting kindergarten.
Oh, boy. Well, I have a daughter who's going to be a senior and a son in 8th grade, so
Ooh.
I guess we're traumatized together.
Yeah. Totally different.
Well, off mic, we'll keep each other supported as we
perfect.
do.
Perfect. The days are long, but the years are short. Would you agree with that?
I would agree.
Yeah.
Well, this is an epic, long intro, and we've waited long enough. So let's get to our wonderful guests in the room. We first have Molly Notenbaum, Child and Family Development Site Supervisor for NMCAA. Thanks for being here. How are you?
I'm good. Glad to be here.
We also have Julie Barber, Child and Family Development Education Coach for NMCAA. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
As a quick side note, I, as an NMCAA employee, am often meeting colleagues for my first time here in the studio when they come to record the show.
It's still pretty astounding.
It is. It's really interesting. There's, 370-ish employees spread across 10 counties. So as you can imagine, I can't know everyone. But with that being said, I don't know much, although I've seen Molly quite often. I've never had an opportunity to really interact with you. So I don't know much about either of you here today. So I know, Molly, you have a son who's about to be 1 because we had our babies around the same time.
Yep,
do you have any other children? And Julie, do you have any children? Are you any back to school stuff as far as personal life goes?
So I just have the one son, and I only plan on having the one because kids are a lot of work.
Yes, they are.
Feel for you guys right now. And then I just have the 2 little dogs.
So no personal back to school stuff just yet. You got a couple of years.
No.
Cool.
And Julie?
I've been through all of that. My children are... 26 and 32.
Oh, perfect.
Actually, 25.
Got experience.
Okay, yeah.
She's
and we
only
have
a quarter of a century.
Experience and a listener. And Erica, you are just a journey among yourself. This is, and it's just all grounded in how this started. But let's get into it, the nitty gritty, as it were. Molly, you're a site supervisor. What does that role include? What is the day-to-day? What does the grind look like?
It's anything and everything. When I got into the role, I didn't even realize they don't tell you everything you're going to be doing. So I supervise the teachers in the classroom. So we have teachers, assistant teachers, and classroom aides. I have 7 sites that I supervise. And every now and then they move us throughout the agency. So we have different caseloads. So in total, I will have worked in 18 different preschool classrooms that we have.
Wow.
Which is kind of neat because I always get to see the old teachers that I worked with and I love them so much. So I deal with a lot of the staffing and licensing rules and regulations, Head Start and GSRP program performance standards as far as safety and stuff like that goes. And I also deal with any kind of facility maintenance in those classrooms.
Wow.
That was a large breadth of things that you do.
That is a very large.
Yeah.
I have to think about the kind of mind that it takes to do that because you have to be very adaptable. And that sounds like a lot of high pace. And in the general storytelling of school and scholastics, are the summers off? Or do you slow down in the summer at all? What is the summer like?
It's interesting. So I don't necessarily slow down. I get some relief because I don't have to worry about my staff and students having any kind of crisis issues.
Okay.
But all summer long, I am in meetings, I'm hiring, and we update all of our forms and procedures every single summer.
And you talked about the legal side forms, and I mean, that is one level of attention. And then you have maintenance, which probably, does that go on just year round as well? I mean, we're in a 4 seasons.
It does. I have to, a lot of the things I know are going to be something I got to do every single summer. And we contact our facilities coordinator, Kelly Stockfist, shout out.
Yes, shout out to Kelly. We love her.
To fix those things for
Awesome.
us. And so I'm on a deadline for some of those things to get done, such as carpet cleaning, new wood chips in our playground, stuff like that. But we might run into situations where we have to get a new Wi-Fi or a router or a telephone, all those random things you don't really think about.
And these are at multiple sites.
Yep.
Wow. So you said how many do you carry at a time?
I have 7.
7. Okay. That's amazing. That's a lot.
I think about maintaining my own house, my own 2 kids.
Yeah, mine doesn't get me
multiplied by any, and I'm out.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm maintaining all
Yeah.
the time. My house is not on the priority list.
Nope.
I feel that. Okay. Love it. Julie, let's switch to your role as an education coach. What does summer look like for you? Do you, speed up during that time of year, preparing for the teachers coming back? Or is it kind of
Summer seems pretty low key.
Low key.
We do have meetings, emails. We have things to prepare for the teachers to come back. And, going through all of our forms and making sure that they'll be supportive to the teachers and that sort of thing. But summers are slower.
Okay.
August, when they come back, it picks up.
Yeah.
Do you get any derailments at times when you are looking at some of these forums and you're looking at things that have to take immediate action? And what does that look like with your team when you have to take some action on something in the summer?
We all meet together and we pull the form up and we look at it and we think about what might have challenged us in the previous year and how can we help the form meet the needs of teachers and us in the upcoming school year.
I skipped over, sorry to go back a little bit. I skipped over your role actually as an education coach. Can you tell us more? What does that entail?
So I am the support for teachers. I also do the class observation 2 times a year, which is the classroom assessment scoring system, and it ensures quality
Did you catch that right?
interactions with quality interactions with children and staff.
Awesome. That's really interesting. So I think we just heard our first acronym.
That's CAS. That's the
class.
classroom
Say it again.
assessment.
Classroom assessment scoring
So
system.
I went with CAS, but either way, that's wonderful. Are we now making up our own?
Acronyms?
Yeah, we're untethered now, this show. We're just making up our own.
We also have PBC, practice-based coaching.
Okay,
and that is
that's more
also
grounded. Great.
That is also the role of the education coach, is to have a couple, 2 to 3 practice-based coachees on our caseload.
Right. It's interesting. I heard you talking about assessment, and it's like quality control. You are assessing your peers. You're assessing, and from what I know about NMCAA, it's not, I know there are supervisors, but I know you all look at each other as colleagues. What's the difficulty level of having to critically assess another human being like that?
So assessing other human beings, and I guess we have the 3rd point reference of the class. We have 7 domains that we are looking at. So I guess it's all about
Clinical.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good way.
I think the biggest thing for us, so Julie and I work together really well as a team. We are in the same centers together. We're very strength-based. We're always looking at how is this going to make this person feel? How can we approach this in a way that's going to make a positive impact for everybody? And so as a site supervisor, I have lots of one-on-one meetings when I have to. I have team meetings when we need to, and we can do those as much as needed. It's usually for our newer teams that we need that more because we really want to build a strong foundation for our teams so that they can make a bigger impact on those children.
It's a lot of minutia, and forgive me about asking that specificity, but I think it's big stuff when you're looking at these policies and having to take quick action before your actions may impact another group of people, in your case, Julie, the incoming teachers. So looking at the positive, what are you both looking most forward to in this upcoming school year? Could be broad, could be small, but what gives you joy looking ahead?
Meeting the children, seeing the teachers' interactions, and watching the teachers meet the children. It's all so much fun.
And my role is very much focused on the staff themselves. And so I get really excited to see their growth. I can name a couple of assistant teachers who have just shown like real growth over the past year. And it's just so impressive. And it's exciting to see what they're going to do the next year, which is taking on more leadership roles in the classroom. So I like to see
Is that what that growth looks like? Putting somebody in that space, that growth looks like. What does leadership in the classroom look like, for example?
So we have the lead teacher, 2 assistant teachers, and a classroom aide. If we can have all of those things, we're lucky. But what's really great is most of our teams want to have equality. They want you to walk into the room and not even know who the lead teacher is. Everybody's just on the same page. So in that sense, I guess the leadership would come from everybody. We want everybody to be just working as a team, smooth, like a
Taking
well-oiled
initiative,
machine. Yeah.
doing what the children need, really reading the cues of the children, and going about the daily schedule in a consistent way.
Played back, I think that's going to be very profound. I'm just really taken by the structure of that, by how I think well-rounded and equal that kind of focuses on leadership and autonomy, especially when it relates to, I think, the wonderful and important things that you're doing.
Yeah. I need to put a interruption into this episode because we're going to take a minute to recognize
The best interruption.
a few of our NMCAA milestone career achievements. So we have several employees in August celebrating over 20 years with NMCAA. And in fact, I believe all of them are with Child and Family Development, which sounds about right because we do a lot of our hiring right before school. So we have Lynette Olson at 20 years.
Wow.
Liz Dycraft and Trisha Sheeman are both celebrating 21 years.
Awesome.
Evelyn Herdening, 23 years. Did I say her name correctly? I don't know. Oh, I'm so sorry if I got that wrong.
I would go with Herdening.
Stacy Parent is 24 years. Avery Amaro is 25 years.
Woo-hoo.
And Drew O'Connor is 29 years.
So awesome.
So incredible.
Every time.
We love all of those people.
Yes.
And
yes.
that's fun. Seeing the reaction in the room is super cool. And mostly kudos to them, but we also have to mention Julie. You've been with NMCAA since 2004, and your 20th anniversary is going to be in November, correct?
November 4th.
Cheers to you.
so awesome.
That's
It's like
so
anybody's
awesome.
counting. See,
Yeah.
this is so
Yeah.
great. Cheers to you, too. That's just
you.
incredible. And it says so much about how NMCAA takes care of people.
Absolutely.
Molly and Julie, you both work with the teachers in the classrooms. We've been talking about that. Do the site supervisors and education coaches ever cross paths much? Work together?
Oh, yes.
Is there a water cooler? What's the dynamic?
Yeah. I couldn't do my job without Julie or any other ed coach that I might have to work with.
True.
So, you said earlier you work really well together as a team. So one of the questions I popped into my head was, do you have a set education coach that you work with, Molly, or are you work with multiple? How does that play out?
Yeah, so we get assigned to our classrooms just like ed coaches get assigned to their classrooms. And so you could have the same education coach for all of your classrooms, or you could have multiple education coaches.
Okay.
So this year, I have Julie for 4 of my classrooms, and then I have another education coach for the other 3.
Okay, very cool. So how do
I
you...
really think we need each other. I think we need the support of each other.
Yeah.
I think that we need to bounce ideas off one another and approaches. So I think we are definitely a team.
And Julie always has a really great way of bringing anything that we come across back to how is this going to affect the children? Because like I said, I really focus on the staff part of it, the adult part of it. So what I really respect about Julie is she can always bring us back to that, the reason why we're doing this and how it's going to look with the children. And so that can reshape how I approach situations with my staff too.
Yeah, so it really does sound like there's a real partnership there as far as like keeping your focus as the teacher side and children's side kind of in line. That's really interesting. I
Yeah.
love the take on that. So
Sick days must be really difficult on this team.
Yeah, if Julie's ever off and I don't know it, I might text her or call her.
We still have to communicate.
Okay.
sick days are not allowed. I feel like that's kind of a thing, right? With teachers too. Like you feel like you want to just be there for your kids.
They do. They really do. It is hard
See
for them to
that.
step out.
It's a thing that I think is ingrained in a lot of teachers, and maybe you can attest to that with
Yeah,
your wife.
when you
also
look
as
at
a
your
teacher.
stakeholders, right? And if you think about it as the future,
Right.
Yeah.
there's a lot at stake. Hard to be sick. Easy
Yeah.
to find ways to power
Yeah.
They
through.
need you every day.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
children need you every day.
Yeah. So you both have already mentioned observations in the classrooms. We talked about class a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit more about class? And then also just what are the observations specifically that you're looking at? I'm assuming you look at different things, being that you have different ends of the spectrum on your team. So
Yeah, so we do the class observation 2 times a year, the education coaches, and we do it in October, and we do it at the end of the year in April, May. And then throughout the year, we do a glows and grows. So we do the observation. I bring my swivel along with me, so my teachers are videotaped. During the day, it's 20-minute.
No pressure.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
It's 20-minute observations with 10 minutes in between scoring. And then I send them their videos, and then we get back together in a couple weeks after everybody on the team has watched the videos, and we do a reflective conversation around it.
So you're observing the teacher
The teacher's interactions with the children.
interactions with the child. Okay.
Everybody
That's
watches these videos.
The whole team watches the videos, yes. Then we get back together and we talk about what they saw in each domain, like positive climate, teacher sensitivity, concept development. And then we do a glows and grows from December to May, the indicator. So it's a very small goal each month. And then I come back and observe just that goal.
Wow.
Intense.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, feels like there would be an element of performance for me. If knowing there's a camera on, but
That's okay, because then we can talk about how great it is for the children, or what the great interaction was, and then how it impacted the children in the moment. So then hopefully they would do it more often.
So
Even
you're
when I'm
trying to
not there.
create behavior that's replicable, but how is it that you use a positive example to try to influence? Because you're working with people, your teachers have different personalities. So how do you try to use some of those positive examples to
the positive interactions?
Yeah.
Because it's videoed and they can see it, and then they can see how it impacts the children. And it might not just impact the one child that they interacted with. It will probably impact the whole classroom in that moment. And so they will see it. And
So it's the teacher. I'm trying to put myself there, and I see that behavior, and I think, that's what I want to take in.
Yeah.
Even though I may be a little more introverted than that teacher, I'm going to push myself a little bit.
And that's another thing that we do. We have community of practices 4 times a year, and those are when the 7 teachers get together and have a meeting, and I will show one of the videos. And it could be everybody watching Chum's classroom or Kalkaska classroom or whatever. And then we watch the video, and then we just talk about the positive things that the teacher did.
I think when you mentioned the performance, for example, we've talked recently about, we sometimes feel like we're performing
Right.
when we're like on this show, for example. But in a classroom, I feel like the teacher, they are putting on a little bit of a performance. And I've gone into classrooms, a couple of occasions for this job. And it's very much like I do it for my kids too at home.
Right.
You're okay, it's time to, it's the excitement. That's what a great teacher looks like, especially for those young ones.
But
You got to get their
you have a
attention.
really tough audience because the collective, for example, so far in my experience, super kind. Kids can be really honest. I'm not going to say mean. I'm going to say honest.
They can be honest. You have to Q-tip all the time.
Okay, that does resonate.
Don't take it personal.
Great.
Don't take it personal.
Because I feel like they're like, you're talking weird. And I'd be like, yes, I am. I had a tough night last night, and I am bringing my stuff here. I don't know. I think I'd be the worst teacher. Or maybe the best. I don't know. So
well, in my case, they always go, "What's that on your face?" And I have to say, "It's a mole. I don't have any moles."
Okay. See?
Yeah.
This is what I mean.
No, that's a great example. That happened to me in one of the classrooms as well. I was like, oh, no, it's just a mole. Yeah.
Okay. Just please, everybody, listen to how hard this really is, performing or not.
Yeah.
It's an art.
It is an art. So we talked about your observations. What kind of things are you observing, Molly, when you're walking into a classroom?
Yeah, so I do anywhere from 48 to 52 observations in total among my 7 centers every single year within a 9-month period. And all of my observations and assessments are based around safety of the classroom and following the policies and regulations among licensing, Head Start, and GSRP, and Great Start to Quality. So we have one called the Safe Environment Checklist, which is a 42-page checklist where I walk around the classrooms and I make sure that we have everything done down to like there's plugs in the sockets and outlets.
Can we go back? Did you say 42 pages?
For that assessment, yes.
And then you said how many?
I didn't want that to be skipped out. I thought I misheard.
Yeah, no, that's a lot.
Okay.
But you also said
42 to 58 assessments within 9 months.
Assessments in 9 months. That's insane.
We should take a moment of silence just to let people do some math.
Yeah.
Wow, site supervisors, you are superhuman.
Yes.
That's incredible. That is a lot.
So what are some of the things specifically, and that's all like specifically for back to school, right? That's readiness. That's everything like that. What about some of the other wows? Like use this time to share some of the interesting things that you have to do throughout the year.
Well, so those assessments I do throughout the year, but big wow is while I'm doing that, our teachers are also required to do those. So we have like check upon check upon check. So while they're teaching all of their students and doing their home visits and parent-teacher conferences, they have to make time to do the same observations and assessments I'm doing. Because when I come in, I'm making sure that they're following the things they said that they've created in their classrooms. One of them being an active supervision observation, where they set a plan on how they're going to actively supervise their students every day, down to when we're transitioning from the classroom to a bathroom in the hallway, where are staff with the children and what are we doing to keep them engaged and safe? And I have to read those plans and make sure they're following those plans and talk about them if we need to make any kind of changes.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's needed, but down to the detail of like, where are the teachers when you're walking through the hallway?
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
They have a lot on their shoulders. They have a really, really big job. And so my job when I'm doing these assessments is really just to help them. If I see something out of place, something is missing, I want to handle that for them so they don't have to think about it again.
Yeah.
Could I ask, kind of like a lot of leaders having to jump onto the line, do you ever have to step in and kind of teach or like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to say maybe have to like fill in for a class for a day, but substituting or whatnot. But, you know, in the moment, I mean, does everything drop and do you have to get into the moment? And
Yes, all the time. Anytime you're in the classroom, you're expected to step in if you're needed. And we do have to sub sometimes to cover for when any staff member might be out.
oh, so like a whole day? Like, and
Yeah.
really, okay. So,
So
what
both roles are potential subs. That's amazing.
and what does a day like that do for you? Is it inspiring or does it make you polish your resume up?
Yeah, well, so I'm not a teacher at all. That's not my background. My background is psychology and behavioral science.
Oh, so you're perfect.
But I've worked in a lot of direct care positions. And so I know that when I needed someone to step in for me in those roles, I know that those teachers want me in those roles too. And what I really like about it when I get to sub is I get to see them in action. And it really helps me to see where they're at. It helps me to see what maybe they need help on or just really appreciate them more.
That's great. Wow. You would agree.
I would agree. That's why we're a great team.
Julie, I'm so intrigued by the idea of an education coach. I love the idea behind continuing teachers' education, but in more of a one-on-one way, perhaps. So maybe it's a little less formal than education, but you get to choose these areas of focus to strengthen. Can you tell us more about, and I think you gave us the acronym.
Like the practice-based coaching.
Yeah.
Give us the acronym.
So every fall, the teachers and assistants do a needs assessment. And from that needs assessment, I choose 2 to 3 candidates to be a coachee for practice-based coaching. And we choose a teaching practice that we are going to focus on for the whole school year. And we make goals from that teaching practice that they want to improve.
For Ryan and I, what is a teaching practice? Can you give us an example of what that might
would be? How to embed literacy throughout the whole day with fidelity. That would be a teaching practice that maybe a teacher is like, I really want to provide more literacy experiences for the children. And so then we would have that as our goal. And then we would baby step it. I would start maybe a free choice time. How are you going to embed literacy into your free choice time and give the children's opportunity around that? And so we would just talk through it. I'd give them resources. And then I would come back in like 2 weeks and observe what they did.
Wow.
And again, it's videotaped too. And so they get to see.
Those teachers are like, oh, here comes Julie again with her video.
Yeah.
They get to see what they did through video because it's a different perspective when you're an observer. When you're doing it, when you're in the moment, you're doing it. But then you get to sit back and observe yourself. You get to really reflect
when
on
you
how well you
mentioned
did.
that earlier, I was thinking of that, like when they were to watch themselves back, like they could see themselves interacting with a child, but then maybe seeing a child that they didn't notice in the moment, also paying attention to that moment.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow.
Videotaping is so powerful for many layers.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's so incredible. So have education coaches always been a thing? Is it something that's across all of Head Start and GSRP?
So what was the question?
So have education coaches always been
when
a thing
in
as far as
2004,
NMCAA?
there was not an education coach. I think there was, I don't know what they were called, but it was more like a site supervisor role and a little bit of support drizzled here and there. So in 2004, I did not have an education coach. It wasn't until my Rapid City days where I had an education coach, and that was through a grant that Marcia Miller got for the Kalkaska community. And so then I got an education coach at that time.
Okay, so it might be something that's, do you know, maybe you don't, is it across all of Head Start that, or
for our 10 counties it is.
our 10 counties,
our 10
but do you know outside of our 10 counties? Do you
I
know if
believe
it's-
so because we did a training and it's in the performance standards.
Okay.
That Head Start classrooms need to have a education coach.
Okay, so
yes,
that's a
it
great thing
was-
to know about the Head Start program.
It was in
Right.
the performance standards, and I don't know what year it was put in. But
And is this also in the GSRP classrooms? There's education coaches?
so we have blended classrooms in our 10 counties, and those are GSRP slots and Head Start slots, and there's education coaches. With just a straight GSRP classroom, they're called early childhood specialists.
Okay, perfect. So there's another role. that we need to know
And
more
our
about.
Yeah,
teachers,
again,
because we
great
have
find.
GSRP funding, our teachers also have an early childhood specialist that come into their classroom.
Oh, cool.
Wow. I need to talk to Shannon and get like an org chart of what all these roles are so that I can have a better understanding, because there's so many layers to this
Yeah.
and that I didn't even
And
realize.
it's all support, and it's all,
Yeah.
to Molly's point, meant, they're all to be that unique kind of linear strength shown in the classroom. That's remarkable.
Yeah.
And I tend to wonder, and maybe you've asked, what do the students think when they see a camera? What do they, does it translate to them that like all this is being done for them? Do you know what I mean? Or do they ham it up? Do you have to deal with that at
Oh,
all?
absolutely.
You do?
Oh, yeah. So we have the microphones. So there's microphones that the teachers wear. And I would say about 2 years ago, the children really wanted to wear these microphones as well. So the children would wear the microphones.
Sounds like
and
a terrible idea.
it was a great idea.
was?
Oh my
Because in my
gosh.
opinion,
Straight
they could. So when I sent the video, I would call it the day in the life of a child in your classroom.
Oh.
Because really, they got to see what that child was perceiving throughout the whole day
Yowzer.
with the microphone around them. So
That would be so interesting.
I actually got a little weird chill. I think that it's a tough audience, but sometimes it's an audience that feels unheard too. A kid, you know?
Yeah, and really getting their perspective. Wow.
That's neat.
That's incredible. So I'd like to change gears just a little bit. So I don't remember if both of you had mentioned this when I had reached out prior to this episode. I know I saw home visits in somebody's little description, and that's one thing I'd like to really demystify. We've talked about home visits on the show before, but it has a little bit of a stigma around it as a parent, I feel like, because the idea of a home visit, like somebody's coming into my home, what are they doing? What are they looking at? So do both of you get to partake in home visits, and what is its purpose?
I'm going to let Julie answer that because that's her department.
Okay.
So teachers partake in the home visits.
Okay.
They are required to do 2 home visits a year and 2 parent-teacher conferences. And it's just to get to know the family better. And it's so exciting to go. I do 1 home visit a year per teacher, just to observe and to ensure quality again and make sure we're having the conversations that we need to have with the families. But they're so fun to go on, and children get so excited when you come to their home. They want to show you their bedroom and their cats and their birds and everything. They want you to be a part of it all. But home visits are to really encourage and engage the parent-child interactions and to support the family on whatever they need, their personal goals, their family goals, and also school readiness goals for children.
So if you mentioned family goals, I know as I just finished up GSRP last year with my son, we also had home visits. We would often set family goals. And I feel like that's one thing, and you're like, maybe other families are different. Every family's different. But I feel like that was something that we were always like, we don't know what to say. So can you give us a couple ideas? Like, what are some things that people might say for like a family goal?
For family goal, it could be just, I'm trying to think.
Put you on the spot.
Could be buying a house.
Yeah, buying a house.
Okay.
Oh.
Feeding dogs. Like, we cannot decide who's going to feed the dog. And so a couple nights we went to bed and we're like, oh no, who fed the dog? So, right? Like, who can feed the
Simple
dog? And
tasks
just
or
simple,
something
big,
monumental. Yeah.
Whatever
Wow.
they're maybe struggling with at the time.
Yeah.
How can we help you meet that goal?
Yeah. And I love that we've talked about this before too, is Head Start specifically, or child and family development, is always very much about the family. And I think that's a really cool part of this department and program. I really think that that's a huge strength of ours at NMCAA, is really focusing on the family. So.
Yeah, and focusing on all aspects, not only for the current situation, but for the future.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that it sounds foregone conclusion. Whitney Houston said it best about the children being the future, but we've got you. And
Yeah.
For each of our classrooms, we also have a family engagement specialist, and they also do home visits. So sometimes the teacher and the family engagement specialist can go on a home visit together to support the child and the family together, or they do it separately. But we do have family engagement specialists for each of our classrooms now, and they are a support for the family and also the teacher.
That's awesome. And I come from a hospitality background. So if I were to be having a home visit, I would need to have some food. There would be some probably color-coordinated glasses and drinking glasses. Any recommendations? Is that okay if somebody wants to, provide a little hospitality for you?
Absolutely.
That's okay.
My first
That's
year
their love
teaching
language, maybe?
back in 2004, I took home a dozen eggs, and I also got chocolate chip cookies. So I was all about it.
Talk about excited to have you, right?
I was excited to go home. I was like, yes.
Oh my gosh.
The best home visit ever.
Molly, we already mentioned you help with hiring for all these sites that you oversee. I can't imagine anybody not, but if somebody listening were to be inspired to join this amazing crew of amazing people, where could they go to find out more about applying for the role and more about details that would matter to them?
So our website, nmcaa.net, has an employment tab, and we have all of our classroom open positions listed on that tab. You can also find any of our open positions on Indeed or at Michigan Works. I'm missing a couple. There's maybe like 5 other locations I'm missing online that they can access. And we have kind of a blurb in there that, if you want to work in a classroom, here's the benefits. And the benefits are we have our summers off, and our staff can go on unemployment if they qualify, where I just learned public school teachers don't get to go on unemployment. So that's a really big bonus for our teachers. We also they get paid full spring break, Thanksgiving, winter break, and other public school teachers don't have that. And so those kinds of things end up being additional benefits. We also don't have class on Fridays. So those are planning days, another benefit to our teachers who want to have that extra time, need that extra time working with your staff to get things done. And we really also want to encourage you to enhance your education, whatever your credentials may be. We work with you to get that up there.
Yes, there are examples of that on this show that I marvel at every time.
Yes. Those were all really great points as well, because, I feel like sometimes people see the pay or something and they might be like, oh, that's not as much as I could get somewhere else. Right. But those are all really great benefits that you pointed out. So I love that perspective on that.
And that's all pretty clear when you go to the website. And again, can you download that kind of stuff and send it along to somebody too who may not have access?
Yep, you can send those links. You can look at them on your phone, on your laptop, whatever.
Awesome. And can either of you tell us how a parent of a school-age child might find out more about Head Start or GSRP?
That is on our website as well. And there's a interest form that they can just get right on their phone and answer the questions. And then our health and recruitment people are awesome, and they'll be contacting them to set up an appointment to finish the application.
Right. And they can call as well, right? You can call the 800 number, which I don't have at the ready. I'm sorry. It's always in the notes.
you could always call our main line, which is 947
3780.
3780.
Wow,
Thank
look
you.
at this. What always gets me is that, again, outsider perspective in a way, but you can call and somebody will answer.
Yeah.
We've had guests on the show give their personal cell phones out, and I believe they were ready to receive call. I was looking them in their eyes in this moment, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So
Another way that we're kind of revamping is they can go to the Great Start to Quality website, and they can look up an area, and they will be able to see information about each of our centers and also what we accept, because it lists on there that we accept all kinds of disabilities when people are struggling to find a place to put their child if they have any kind of disability.
Okay. That's great information too. I might need to get that from you later so we can promote that.
look at this, the benefits.
Okay. Before we get...
Well, hard hitter.
Yeah.
We said there were no hard-hitting questions, but maybe there's one or two. Okay. We save it for the end.
Before we get to the end of the episode, Molly, if you had to choose one spokesperson for Child and Family Development, who would it be and why?
Jack Black.
Jack Black. School Rock.
Yep.
No hesitation. Has he come up before?
I don't think so.
He's just so fun and energized and obviously loves kids, so he'd be great.
That would be a great one. I love that.
Again, I've said it before. That feels like a possible get.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
If somebody like that hears this, he might be like, what's my schedule like?
I think
He's coming to Traverse City, are you saying?
I don't know, but we've had other unique answers to that question. Maybe even higher list as far as, but I do think this will yield.
Yeah.
That's my prediction.
We're going to work
day.
on that one.
It's in the stars.
Julie, similarly, if we can have a flight of fancy, and it doesn't have to be too fancy or a flight, but if you had one wish for the Child and Family Development Department at NMCAA to fulfill, what would it be and why?
If I had one wish.
Unlimited or limited, either way.
It could be real or totally.
Using wish.
I would wish for all the money so we could have the best classrooms that we could possibly have for these children, and to be able to engage them in interactions. And
I love that too.
I heard it. All right, all the money.
All the money.
All of that out.
all the funding.
We need all the funding.
And
there we go. I like that word better.
But that's a good wish. And I would file that one under reasonable.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
For our teachers too, they need better pay. They do so much on a day-to-day basis, and they're juggling so many hats that they deserve some good vacations in the summertime.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Send them on vacation.
And well, speaking of that, there are ways to donate. There are ways to volunteer, are there not? So what are the best ways? If somebody wanted to give all the money or somebody wanted to give all the time, where would they go to support you?
Just call me up. No.
See, we almost had another cell phone come out. You can put it in the notes if you want. I'm just saying.
She's like,
Well, there's lots of different ways to volunteer, which actually does turn into money for our centers. We call it in kind. So if anybody in the community, families, parents, if they want to come into the classroom and read a book or just sit there and have breakfast with our kids. We also have, we have police officers and firefighters that come in and they talk about what they do. And that time turns into actual money. And then that gives us money for our funding.
yeah.
If we don't get that money, we have to pay it back. So we really want lots of volunteer work in there. Or you can donate coats, gloves, hats, snow
I was
pants,
just
blankets.
going to say, I have some children's books that I'm getting rid of. And I just asked Shannon, can I give you these books?
Yes.
And she said,
Is there a
absolutely.
needs
So-
list, a supplies needs list specifically for you?
We don't have a needs list, like a printout that we could give you. And part of that is because we don't like asking for things because that's just not the nature of our agency. But we do always need winter gear for our kids.
Just in case people needed some guidance, maybe.
Yeah.
I get you.
Yeah, I do. I agree with like mittens or gloves or hats, because I know they're not allowed to go outside if they don't have all those 5 things.
Yeah, they won't be warm if they go outside without those things. So
And that would be breaking one of 900 rules, and Molly would be furious.
Exactly.
That's on the
Not
42
safe
page.
on the
I'd have to mark that down.
That would be marked down.
We have to look at that.
And you can donate on the website, correct?
Yes. You can go on the website and go to the donate page and hit donate.
That's wonderful.
Yep.
Molly and Julie, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. We really appreciate you sharing your stories, your experience, and your passion. It means a lot for us.
This was fun.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you both for being here. And don't forget, we'd like to share your community stories regarding NMCAA. If you have a story you'd like to share about how NMCAA has impacted your life, send us an email at collectiveuspodcast@nmcaa.net. And if you enjoyed today's podcast, please hit like, follow, or share. It truly helps us continue to get all the good word out on NMCAA. If you would like to learn more about Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency or the programs we offer, or would like to make a donation, we encourage you to reach out at 231-947-3780 or visit our website at nmcaa.net. And to our listeners today, we encourage you to continue to strive each day to do something to help yourself or your neighbors.